Tonight on Presumed Dead, two stories of lost loved ones take a shocking turn. A car crash leaves the families of two best friends haunted by uncertainty.
She's not dead, she's not dead, she's not dead.
And when bones are discovered in an abandoned brickyard, three sisters are forced to confront the past.
He said, I think I found your mother.
At 10:30 p.m. in a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, Maria Guerra receives a phone call.
Hello?
It's been 6 hours since she last spoke to her daughter, Abby.
I called her like around 4:30, and I said, where are you? And she said, we just left California. And I said, okay, just be careful. I had like a bad feeling, but I just like put it in back of my mind.
Abby is returning from a weekend trip to Disneyland with four close friends, Laura Padilla, Tyler Parker, Giselle Morales, and Marlena Cantu. It's been a great trip, a weekend to remember. But suddenly,
there was a car in front of me. I noticed it was swerving a little bit. The tread of their tire came off and actually hit my vehicle. That car started to roll. It was very violent, just rolling and rolling and rolling. And I'd say like 15 times. Glass breaking, car pieces. I saw the engine was sparking. Just you could hear the crunch of the metal. Stuff from Disneyland that was flying all over the road.
Kelly Clemens pulls over to help. She sees that two of the passengers have been thrown out of the vehicle onto the highway, while the other three are trapped inside.
There was a body in front of me. Unfortunately, could tell she was deceased already.
She moves on to the other ejected passenger.
And you could tell her back was broken. I spoke to her, and she was just moaning. You could hear the pain, and as you talked to her, she was conscious.
The accident was very traumatic. This was an extremely chaotic scene. Multiple police and fire vehicles were on scene. Traffic was backed up.
Paramedics used the jaws of life to remove the remaining three passengers.
One of the girls was brought out first, and then the gentleman. It was just so horrible to see his legs. They just looked like they were shattered. It was horrible to witness something like that. I'm never, ever gonna forget it.
The four survivors are airlifted to Phoenix.
Only one young woman remained at the scene with a blanket covering her.
At St. Joseph's Hospital, three of the crash victims are deemed in critical condition and rushed into emergency surgery. Police begin to contact their families, and Maria Guerra gets the worst call of her life.
Hello? And they just told me, have you heard about Abby? And I say, no. I said, what happened? And then she said, well, I just want to let you know that they have a car accident and they airbagged everybody to St. Joseph.
The hospital is over 10 miles away, but Maria is too hysterical to care.
I just start running on the middle of the street. I don't know what to do.
Relatives finally track her down and give her a ride. Family and friends of the victims fill the waiting room, desperate for news.
I asked for Abby, and he said, there's no Abby here. And then one of the nurses told me, just wait on the lobby and somebody's gonna call you.
Maria soon finds Frank Cantu. He's the father of Marlena, who was in the accident with Abby. The two are best friends.
But Marlena was a good friend for my daughter. They were close, really close.
They considered each other like sisters. They used to be over at one another's houses almost every day in high school. And when Abby went away to college, they continued to talk almost every day on the phone.
Frank and Maria share their shock and disbelief at what's befallen their daughters.
Frank Cantu was shaken, emotional.
What they don't know is that one of them is dead at the scene of the accident, and the other is fighting for her life. Gradually, updates on the victims arrive. Laura Padilla, the driver, has only suffered a broken collarbone. But her boyfriend, Tyler Parker, has succumbed to severe internal injuries. Giselle Morales is in critical condition, but expected to survive.
Giselle's mom, she was sitting straight to me, and she was looking at me, and she was shaking, and she was crying.
That leaves only the fates of Abby and Marlena still undetermined.
I was shaking and just waiting.
Maria is questioned about any distinguishing features that might help identify Abby.
Maria Guerra immediately thought of a birthmark on her daughter Abby's chest.
A nurse examines the young woman in the hospital bed, looking for the mark.
She did not see it. She went to talk to the police, informed them that she did not see this birthmark. And after that point, Maria Guerra was informed that her daughter had died.
And I started screaming. I said, she's gone, she's gone. I had my phone in my hand and I threw it to the wall. I started screaming. I said, how can I live without you? You're my only daughter, you're my child.
Police tell Maria to contact the medical examiner's office in the morning to identify Abby's body. For the Cantu family, the news is marginally better. Marlena is alive, but has massive injuries and may not pull through.
The doctors had to perform several surgeries on her as she had severe brain swelling. They actually had to remove portions of her skull to keep her alive.
Maria Guerra has to call her husband Sergio, a truck driver who's on the road 400 miles away.
I was disoriented. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. What I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna tell him.
My phone started sounding around 3 a.m. And it's when my wife told me. She told me she was dead, she died. That's what she told me. I was walking like a zombie. All I want is to go to the airport and fly to see my family. And I was trying to hold some hope. It's not true. The only thing I was saying, no, she's not dead, she's not dead, she's not dead. The worst thing was when I came back and I saw the whole family reunited. It's then when I realized she was dead.
Only 19, Abby was already a soccer star at the University of Indiana, studying to be a nurse.
She likes to play with her brothers. They never give her any chances. If she wants the ball, she has to fight for the ball. That's why she learned to play very good. And that's why she learned to be a strong woman. Because nothing was easy for her.
All my family love her because, you know, the way she is.
But she was happy. She was always talking, singing. It's like when the hurricane comes, she was like that.
While the Guerras deal with their grief, Marlena Cantu's loved ones gather at her bedside in the trauma unit, where she clings to life. Doctors have ordered them to keep a distance and stay silent to prevent overstimulating Marlena's injured brain.
Her face was mostly covered by tubes, wires, medical machinery. Her face was very swollen. She was very bruised.
For the Cantu family, it's a nightmare about to take an even more shattering turn. Tragedy strikes 5 young people on their return from a holiday, including best friends Abby Guerra and Marlena Cantu. Now one is dead, the other in critical condition.
Marlena was barely hanging on to life. She had a series of surgeries. Her family was really concerned that she wasn't going to make it, but they tried to remain hopeful.
Maria and Sergio Guerra visit the morgue to identify their daughter. But shockingly, they're turned away.
They don't let me see my daughter. And we asked her, can we see the body? And they said, no, this is not a public place. And I think on my side, we are not public, we are the parents.
So I said, when we're gonna have her? And she said, by Friday afternoon, you will have the body. Why don't you go and do the arrangements for the funeral, and then we can go from there.
Then, authorities make an odd request.
The medical examiner's office wanted information about Abby's distinguishing marks, dental records, medical records, any forms of identification.
The Guerras are given no reason for the delay or need for ID.
I don't know the details. At that time, I didn't ask anything.
So what we do, we just wait.
At the hospital, Marlena Cantu's father maintains vigil at her bedside, sleeping on the hospital floor.
The Cantus did notice some discrepancies, some things that didn't quite appear to be like Marlena. They noticed that Marlena's eyebrows seemed a bit high, but they were told that staples after some of the brain surgeries could have caused that. Her hair seemed a bit too dark, but they were told that that could just be a result of regrowth after shaving. They felt that her skin looked a bit too dark, but they were told that that could just be a result of the anesthesia and bruising.
Back home, Maria and Sergio Guerra have begun to plan their daughter's funeral.
Every morning I sit with my husband, we just cry and cry and cry.
But on their next visit to the medical examiner's office to retrieve Abby's body for burial, they're turned away again.
Friday came and they didn't give us the body.
They were told that the body still was not ready to be released. And again, a staffer asked about identifying marks that Abby might have.
Nobody gave me answers, and I was just like so desperate.
The Guerras stop by the hospital to visit Frank Cantu as he remains inseparable from Marlena.
I start talking to Frank, and I say, how's she doing? And he said, she's doing okay, but we don't know if she's gonna make it. I don't want to remember Marlena like that, so I don't even look.
By Saturday morning, 6 days after the accident, authorities in the medical examiner's office have discovered a major discrepancy.
A forensic dentist who only works on Saturdays took a look at the dental records for Abby Guerra and took a look at the body and realized that they did not match.
An officer visits the Guerras requesting photos of Abby and any personal effects that could produce a DNA sample.
He said, do you have a toothbrush or her brush? And I said, no, she took it with her. Do you have anything else? And I said, I have her retainer.
The Guerras are once again left in the dark as to what's going on.
He said, why? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, they left. They left with no answer to me, no, nothing.
Still, with family and friends arriving for Abby's funeral, they're determined to force authorities to give them their daughter.
You know what? We're gonna go to the medical examiner office, and we're not gonna move in there until they release the body.
They finally track down the medical examiner at the hospital and refuse to leave without answers.
We were waiting now for 2 hours probably.
What they don't know is that the medical examiner is trying to establish whether the two girls have been misidentified, but Sergio and Maria have begun to suspect the truth.
At that point, I was thinking, my daughter is alive, but I cannot be that selfish to hoping somebody else lost his daughter.
Authorities learn from the Cantus that Marlena has a large scar on her abdomen from having her appendix removed.
The hospital staff and police went into the hospital room to see if she had this scar. The young woman in the hospital bed did not have this scar. Marlena's father was beside himself. He says he does not remember leaving that room.
And regardless of their suspicions, the Guerras are still shocked when the truth is revealed.
And then she says to my wife, okay, the girl that is on that room is your daughter. And Maria tries to run, but they hold her back.
And that moment I wanted to go home and hug my daughter, and they don't let me. They said, no, you have to wait. And I said, why? I need to go see my daughter. Let me go see her.
The Cantu family is shattered. At just 21 years of age, their daughter Marlena is dead.
The Cantus were devastated. They did not know how to handle this. They were crying, screaming, hugging. This was such a difficult situation.
Difficult, too, for Sergio Guerra, who knows exactly what the Cantus are going through.
When somebody tell you your daughter is dead, doesn't feel like a normal thing. Supposed to be the father is the one who has to die first.
The Guerras finally get to Abby, only to see her being rushed away into another emergency brain surgery.
So the doctor said, call all your family and come and say goodbye to her, because we don't know if she will be survive.
We told me, Abby, we find you. We find you. And we don't gonna let you go.
Moments after discovering their daughter is alive, the Guerras may have to face losing her yet again.
The doctor tell me, don't hold any hopes. Your daughter is gonna die. When I tell him, you don't know my daughter.
For 6 days, Abby Guerra's parents believed she died in a horrific car accident while her best friend Marlena Cantu survived. But they've learned there was a dreadful mix-up.
When the Guerras learned that Abby had in fact survived this accident, there was a mix of confusion, happiness, but also sadness for the Cantu family, who had spent the past week rallying around who they believed was their daughter and loved one.
And now the Guerras are faced with a terrifying new prospect, that Abby won't survive her latest surgery.
My wife was worried because she was afraid that she's gonna die. I told her, she don't gonna die, Maru. She's gonna make it.
Miraculously, she does pull through. Still, the prognosis remains bleak.
The doctor told me she's gonna be blind. She don't gonna be able to talk normally. If she make it, she gonna be like a vegetable.
In addition to brain injury, Abby has suffered a broken back, 2 strokes, and is still in a coma. But her family never loses faith.
And I told her, you're a doctor, you do medicine, but God make miracles. And God make the miracle. My daughter is alive.
As they sit at bedside vigil, Maria and Sergio are visited by Frank Cantu.
And I told him, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. He was there every day, day and night. He stayed there all the time, with my daughter.
For many long weeks, the Guerras stay at Abby's side, until one day,
She opened her eyes, and she looked at me, and I said, do you know who I am? And she just looked at me, and I told her, close your eyes twice if you know who I am. And then she did.
now awake and aware, Abby Guerra begins the long road to recovery.
Good.
I felt as if I was just living a nightmare. I said, why can't I feel my legs? Why do they feel like they're asleep? And she told me that I had broken my back and I was paralyzed and I wouldn't be able to walk anymore. And I remember thinking I needed to hurry up and get better so I can go back to Indiana. I was just ready to get my life going again.
She has no memory of the accident, and it was weeks before she could be told of her best friend's death.
I can't stop thinking about Mar. Mar and I were still really close. We would talk every day. She would ask me how I was doing, I'd ask her how she's doing, or what's going on with our lives, just because since we were always together, I do think like, wow, I can't believe this happened. Why? But I have learned, no matter what life throws at you, you always have to make the best of it.
Abby's extensive physiotherapy goes on for months.
After 100 days between being in the hospital and rehab, I brought Abby home.
The tragic mix-up devastated both the Guerra and Cantu families.
If only the Guerras had been able to see a photo of the young woman at the medical examiner's office, they would have known that this was not their daughter. The photos that I have seen make it clear that Marlena Cantu was the one who died.
Senator Nancy Bartow and the Arizona legislature agreed something had to be done. Abby and her family pushed hard to change the law.
Because I think it's really necessary. Because it's not fair for either family.
They introduce a bill that requires state medical examiners to meet with the family of the deceased within 48 hours.
At that meeting, the medical examiner's offices are not required to allow the families to view the body, but they can show photos and bring along pieces of jewelry or other items that the deceased person had with them at the time of their death.
In April 2011, the bill passes. It's known as Abby's Law. Today, Abby continues to overcome obstacles and defy her doctor's expectations.
She's tried to be herself again. And everything that she accomplished is a miracle for me.
She has returned to school and is committed to maintaining her independence.
I want my own house. Well, yeah, because I'm not planning to live with my mom when I'm 40 years old.
She will walk again. We don't know exactly when, but I'm pretty sure she will walk again.
This whole situation did make me realize who were the people that I could count on and when I need them the most. And that was my family. My family is everything to me. I don't know where I would be without him.
Next, when human bones are found in an abandoned brickyard,
I was just floored.
three sisters confront the fate of a mother they hardly knew.
I was a child. She left me.
Old wounds are reopened along with a 40-year mystery.
It was a shocker.
It's a spring day in 1996. Sisters Joanne Allen and Grace Cavisto read something in their local paper that shakes them to the core.
I was in total shock. I was just floored.
The Galesburg Register reports that a man hiking in an abandoned brickyard has made a gruesome discovery.
What they found was a body inside one of the kilns. It was decayed. It was basically bones and hair and clothes.
The clothing indicates that the body is a woman. But who is she? And how did she get here? DNA testing wasn't an option at the time, so the police turned to the public for help. The newspaper story features a facial approximation of the victim.
A facial approximation is where they would take the actual skull, and then based on what the anthropologist feels the race and the age of the person are, they would reconstruct it with clay.
It's the picture of the reconstructed face that galvanizes the two sisters.
My older sister called the police station immediately and said, I think that might be my mother.
Their mother, Cora Hood, who disappeared 26 years ago, had grown up across the street from the brickyard.
It was August of 1970. It was the last time that we seen her.
When they found the remains, I really didn't know what to think because I already thought my mother had passed elsewhere. It was kind of like opening up old wounds again.
According to the sisters, their mother's disappearance followed a lifetime of troubles. Newspaper reporter Tom Lowy spent time researching the family history.
She was a woman that, in one way or another, struggled with, I think, mental health issues. I think she had developmental disabilities that maybe weren't evident, that she could, in a social setting, hide or cover up.
Cora's disabilities were never understood or taken seriously by her parents. She needed help, but she never got it, says her youngest daughter, Debbie Sue.
She was never treated well by her mother or her father. Her father was an alcoholic. They usually made her sleep out on the porch.
There were indications of abuse, instances that neighbors talked about where they felt that she was mistreated.
Cora took off as soon as she was old enough to leave home. Her family never knew if she'd be gone for a couple of weeks or gone for good.
She kind of lived a nomadic lifestyle. She would come back to this area and then be gone for an extended period of time and then resurface somewhere else.
Some of her siblings tried to search for her, but they had neither the money nor the resources to keep it up. The troubled pattern of Cora's life was set and would continue for decades.
Cora was a transient. She traveled from truck stop to truck stop. She was manipulated by men who would stay with her for a while, and then when she became pregnant, cast her aside.
I know she always got mixed up with different men. I feel she was looking for the love that she didn't get from her father or mother, and she always came home either with a child or when she was pregnant.
As years went by, Cora returned to Galesburg again and again, almost always having a new child in tow.
Altogether that we know of, there was 14 of us.
But Cora didn't have the mental capacity to raise the children herself. Some were put up for adoption, some were raised by Cora's older sisters.
She was not able to take care of us and left us with my aunt and uncle to have a better life.
I think she made the right choices back then. People may not think she did, but I believe she made the right choices knowing that she wasn't able to take care of us.
I think people should have some sympathy because we all say, how could you do that? But we all didn't walk a mile in her shoes either.
And callous as it may seem, the family got used to Cora's coming and going.
I was a child. She left me. I didn't leave her. And so that's how I coped with it, so that it didn't hurt me. That was her choice. It wasn't mine.
They always said she'd be back, and she always came back.
But then in 1970, when Cora was in her 40s, the pattern was broken.
There was a family squabble, and that's when she left and was told not to come back, and she didn't.
She was gone for good. At first, some of her daughters tried to keep track of her, but they were young, barely in their teens, and there wasn't much they could do.
I just thought that if she really wanted to see us, she would come back.
But she never did. And 26 years later, when bones are discovered in the local brickyard, police suspect the worst.
When the bones were found, they were found inside of a plastic trash bag, which made investigators believe right from the get-go that this may have been a homicide or a dump site for a body.
It seemed an obvious conclusion. But when the bones were taken to the lab and the anthropologist searched for signs of trauma, gunshot, or knife wounds, he found nothing.